Hi again, Risa here, back with another episode of Ask Risa. This is my weekly series where I discuss some common wedding planning questions and problems. And I am wrapping up my sustainability series this week. The first week I talked about stationery. The second week I talked about florals and decor. Last week I talked about venue and catering and bar options, what you can do to improve the sustainability of your wedding and cut down on your carbon footprint. So this week I'm just kind of covering a catch-all category, just a bunch of other little things that you can do that aren't necessarily related to each other and didn't fit into an overall category. So if you missed those earlier videos, you can find them all on my YouTube channel, which is under Risa James Events, and they're all grouped together under a playlist called Ask Risa. So one of the number one things that you can do to reduce your carbon footprint for your wedding is hire local vendors. Some vendors, especially photographers, like to advertise themselves as being available worldwide, and they will travel to wherever you are having your wedding. But that's not necessarily a good thing from an environmental perspective. If you live in the middle of the country, let's say you live in Idaho, why would you hire a photographer from New York City or France or Italy? I live in California. I get emails all the time from photographers who are in Europe and want to do weddings in California. Well, that's great, but we have a lot of really talented wedding photographers right here in Sacramento. I don't need to hire somebody from France for a client's wedding, and neither do you. So the carbon emissions that come from flying from Europe to the United States are huge. So if you're interested in cutting down your carbon footprint, hire local vendors, and that'll make a big impact. You can find talented vendors within a reasonable radius of where you live. I guarantee it. Another thing you can do when it comes to wedding jewelry is make sure that you're doing your research into where those gemstones are coming from. I think pretty much everyone at this point is familiar with the idea of blood diamonds. A lot of gemstones are found in African countries. Those gemstones are mined, and the workers who are doing the mining are mistreated and not paid very well or at all. And then the gemstones are sold and the proceeds are used to finance wars. African warlords are putting together their child armies and buying machine guns with the money that they make from selling diamonds. It's a bad situation, and you want to make sure that your wedding ring, engagement ring, is not going to fund that type of activity. The De Beers conglomerate has a bit of a monopoly on gemstones. They say that they've cleaned up their act and that they don't purchase blood diamonds anymore. If you are buying your engagement ring at a store, a chain store, you want to ask a lot of questions about where those gems are coming from and get some certificates of authenticity and provenance, which just means where it came from. Provenance is the origin of something. Or a better idea is to just bypass those channels altogether and go through an independent organization. I got my wedding ring, engagement ring and wedding band, and my husband's wedding band at a company called Brilliant Earth, which is based out of San Francisco. They are set up and work with local mining collectives that are based in the countries where the gemstones are mined. I believe my sapphire came from Sri Lanka, I want to say. And the collectives are locals, and they make sure that the miners are paid a fair wage, and the proceeds are reinvested into the community. They go toward agriculture and infrastructure and things like that. They do not finance war. So that's something to look for. Another nice thing about Brilliant Earth is that you can totally custom design your jewelry if you'd like to. You don't have to. They have plenty of designs already made, and you can just go on their website and pick something out. But I designed my rings with my husband, and we were able to make them exactly what we wanted them to be. So that was kind of cool. So I'm a big fan of Brilliant Earth. Another option, besides buying something brand new, is to buy something very old. Go to an antique store or an estate jeweler or an estate sale and get heirloom jewelry. Chances are it might have been a blood diamond in the past, but there's nothing you can do about that now. You're not purchasing it brand new. It's not financing a new war. It was probably used to finance a war 100 years ago, but at least you're reusing the the gem so that it maybe, I don't want to say it makes it all better, but at least it's getting reused. So that's something. And the precious metals that are in the ring have already been mined. So there's no new mining activity that's required to make that jewelry. So those are two options to think about when it comes to jewelry. Something else to think about is your attire. Bride's dress, you're probably going to buy that. You can rent them, but in my experience, renting a wedding gown is less than ideal because they're not always in the best condition, and it's not really going to save you any money, even though it's slightly more sustainable. If you at least donate your gown when you're done with it, if it's not totally trashed, then it can get a second use. But bridesmaids' dresses are ripe for rentals. Rent the Runway in particular has a lot of great fashionable dresses, and then your bridesmaids don't have the problem of, oh, I've got this bridesmaid's dress now, I'm never gonna wear this again. It's gonna sit in the back of my closet for the next 10 years, and then I'm eventually gonna donate it. And it's just, kind of a waste of money to be worn once. So renting bridesmaids' dresses is a great way to go. Same thing with the groomsmen attire. I mean, everybody knows you can rent tuxedos. You can also rent suits. You don't have to buy the suits. Unless your guys need a suit. I mean, every guy should own at least one nice suit for job interviews, attending weddings as a guest, what have you. So if your guys don't already have a suit, then maybe everybody wants to buy a navy suit or a gray suit or whatever color scheme you're going with. But if not, renting suits still the way to go. Renting the groom's attire is the way to go as well. And then all of that stuff can be reused by somebody else, and you get more bang for your buck from an energy use standpoint that was used to create that garment in the first place. Another item is transportation. So instead of having, 60 cars drive separately to get to your wedding, maybe you hire a shuttle bus and those 100 and some people just take one mode of transportation to get to your wedding. And that cuts down on a lot of carbon emissions. However, you have to talk to your transportation company because there's a long lag in time between when the shuttle drops people off at the wedding and when it needs to take them back to wherever they are going, which is usually a hotel. Oftentimes, the shuttle driver will just idle the shuttle bus or whatever it is, and it's running that entire time for 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And they're running the air conditioning and playing the radio and things like that. Huge waste of energy. So you're totally not offsetting anything if that's what the shuttle company is going to do. Now, if the shuttle bus is going to go back to the depot and it's just going to be parked for the duration of your wedding and then they're going to come back, that's a totally different story. Then you are actually getting something for your money there, and you're reducing your carbon emissions. So talk to the shuttle company, find out how they handle that. A couple other ideas: instead of giving your guests a take-home favor, make a donation to your favorite charitable organization, your favorite environmental group, and just put a sign in a central location, in lieu of a take-home favor, we've made a donation to such and such organization, and leave it at that. And then you're not generating all that waste and packaging and things to have every guest take home a favor. Candles. I love candles. They set a really romantic atmosphere. They're great, but they do emit particulate matter when you burn them. So if you want to use candles, use soy candles. They're clean burning, they're more sustainable, they're better for the environment altogether. Similarly, beauty products. Ask your stylist and your makeup artist, what kind of products are they using? Are they organic? Are they made in a sustainable way? Are they cruelty-free products? If the answer is no, ask them if they're willing to use those types of products instead of their usual product. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Maybe you want to find a different stylist who does use organic and sustainable products. Up to you. Again, if you're trying to be more sustainable, just something to think about. And then lastly is your honeymoon. So there are a lot of sort of sustainability-minded resorts that are opening up these days. You definitely could honeymoon at one of those places, or even go a step further and do some sort of community service outreach project while you're on your honeymoon, sort of give back to the community where you are a tourist. That is very sustainability-minded. So those are my ideas on how to increase the sustainability of your wedding. If you have anything you'd like to add, I would love to hear it. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. If you have any questions, also feel free to leave me a comment or shoot me an email. My website is risajamesevents.com. My email is risa@risajamesevents.com. Pretty easy. And I will be back next week to talk about more wedding planning ideas. And if you like this video, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up, and that will help more people find it here on YouTube. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.